Hello, everyone, and welcome to Roll and Keep, our weekly Cortex Prime, where we play the game to learn and play and teach the many settings and styles of Cortex. And also today we're introducing a new segment where we teach you how to make a setting that you can play and learn and teach to your friends. And we bring on really cool people to do that. We are calling it Cortex Clinic. Those of you who were really looking forward to some Stranger Towns, unfortunately, we will not be continuing the Stranger Towns story. It's on indefinite hold at this point, but for very good reasons. The wonderful Vanessa Guerrero has gotten a wonderful opportunity with G4 Entertainment. Is going to do amazing stuff with them, and just a time conflict for now. You know, it's so amazing, and we're super duper happy for her. So we're going to do a two-parter here. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what this is going to be, but we just wanted to say, Vanessa, congratulations, and, hopefully maybe in the future we can have a little, guest spot and finish up that Stranger Town story, but for now we shall live in constant dread and suspense. My name is Mellie Doucette. I'm the community manager for Cortex, which is this modular, multi-genre toolkit RPG system that lets you basically create any world or genre you want to play a game in and play the game in it. It is available now. You can check it out at cortexrpg.com. It's pretty darn cool. And if you have the book today, you'll be able to follow along with us using this beautiful book. You can also use the website if you've got access to the digital book on there. And if you don't have access to either of those, or you have friends that don't have access to either of those, we're going to be giving away 4 copies of the digital book today throughout the show. So keep an eye on chat for chances to win. I'm very, very excited. We're going to be in Cortex Clinic today, which is going to be where we build a new setting with an amazingly creative person. That person today is Aliza Pearl, actor, writer, improviser. You're creating this setting. It's all you, Aliza. From Nerdist, Geek, and Sundry, Improvised Generation, Ripley, Improv, Aliza, super excited to learn what cool setting you're going to be building with us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited. I'm super excited to do this.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I'm also very excited to be joined by the designer of Cortex Prime itself, Cam Banks. Yeah, there we go. Who's, our chief of Cortexatry here in the Cortex Clinic. He'll be our guide through building this setting, and I'm very, very excited. So with that, I'm just going to hand it off. Cam, we got Aliza. She's got an idea, and she says, hey, I want to build a Cortex setting. Where do we even start? What do we do? Tell us.
Well, welcome to the clinic, Aliza. Obviously, you're very familiar with the environment. You've been here before, but I think it's a good idea to start off any kind of conversation like this with saying, hi, we are so happy to have you here. Thank you again for being on our show. It's great. The clinic would not be a clinic without your support, and we would love to make your dreams come into reality with dice and rules and other fun things. So there we go. So let's just get started. Aliza, what is it you're coming to us today with? What is this idea you want to build a game out of?
Okay, so it's an idea that has been evolving. I've had for a while. I want to do a space travel agency setting, and one angle of the idea is that literally, the players work for a space travel agency where they have to go out to different exoplanets and establish the tourist attractions and make it safe for tourists. So if they go to a molten lava exoplanet, they have to establish, pedestals, stands, and places that would be safe for people to stand on, and maybe some type of atmospheric biodome visitor center, things like that. If they wanted to go boating on methane lakes on Titan, set up the little docks, find a lake, set up a dock, make sure the boats are whatever. So that's one angle of the idea. Then the other angle of the idea, which kind of is this is what it's been evolving to, is to have it be, the players are these adventurous, people who do not the X Games, I guess, people who travel to Antarctica and go to the Himalayas all the time and things like that. So these like very, hardy adventurers who go to these amazing exoplanets that are kind of dangerous, but they they go and do cool things on them. They like um, go jet skiing on those methane lakes or things like that. So yeah, maybe we can somehow incorporate all those elements into one setting.
So you want the exciting part of this is that the places they go are pretty dangerous, right? And they have to make
Yeah.
they're exciting, dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
perilous places in space, different worlds, and you want the players to ostensibly what you tell people is that they're going to help set up these game places or they're going to help build these tourist locations. They're kind of builders, right? There's the scouts,
Yeah.
builders, and other kinds. But
Mm-hmm.
we all know that that's fine and everything, but there's going to be shenanigans. So we want to also think
Oh
about
yeah.
when design a setting like this. If we're going to make a game and have people make characters, they're going to need to have another angle to bring in some personal drama or some conflict or something else. So maybe talk a bit about what you think could potentially go wrong without spoiling it for those of us who, like Mellie and myself, who might want to play this. But what do you see? That's the baseline. Nothing goes wrong. Everything's good. We go there, do a thing, come back. What can go wrong, and what kind of drama can come out of it?
Well, the very easy, obvious thing that can go wrong is that they're in space. They're on these exoplanets that most of them will not have atmospheres. Actually, we don't know of any exoplanets that have atmospheres like ours that are breathable. So that's one thing. If you get a crack in your spacesuit, you're dead. If you don't establish like a visitor center that has breathable atmosphere, they're all dead. So like there is the very real Mellie.
This is the most
Mellie.
high stakes vacation of my life.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, I can see this type of game being very fun and shenanigans and like space opera, just kind of like cool and slick. But then I
Mm-hmm.
also kind of want to have that hard sci-fi element of like, no, yeah, you're really in space, you could die. Like if you don't do this right, you could die. So I would want that to be something that has to be addressed in some way. It doesn't have to be like the whole game is about that, but just some way to touch upon that. And
Cool.
then I'm just thinking of like other interpersonal conflicts that can happen. Maybe well, I wouldn't want to like just have it be set up so that it's PvP off the bat. But maybe if it is like this team they have a goal, they have to set it up by this time or in this way so that the space travel agency can reach its goals. I don't know. Maybe there's some way
Is
to
there
um,
Yeah, is there a bit of like a workplace drama angle here? Because like, hey, we all work for this company. Maybe we all
yeah.
have different goals, have different roles at this company. Because that can be
Mhm.
drama all on its own. I mean, there's whole TV shows about this.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. So yeah, it could be that they're sent out by the space travel agency to do this in a certain way, like, and then it is kind of mission based because it's like go find this exoplanet, secure XYZ, set up this thing and the other, and this is how
In
many
chat,
people we
Play
need to
Games
accommodate at a
Patty.
time.
Yeah, Play Games Patty in chat also passes the suggestion: rival groups could be more than one company
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that is involved. Interesting idea,
In
Play Games
fact, I
Patty.
Yeah,
think
yeah.
what makes it interesting is if you introduce like maybe even if there are multiple groups within the group of players, that would make things extremely dicey. But I think it sounds like if you have rivals as GMCs and other groups and organizations that are
Mm-hmm.
trying to do the same thing as your players, then you can
Yeah.
have a whole lot of cool, game master characters who show up, or game moderator characters, I should say, who show up and their main role is to get in the way of you doing your job and poking at
Mm-hmm.
those internal conflicts that you already have, between players.
They could
So that's
even like
cool.
sabotage things, like You know, they remove a pipe that's needed for ventilation, things like that.
I have this image of players trying to not only manage their own interpersonal drama because the other people in their group at the company they work for, the agency, are jerks in their head, but also while trying to establish something really cool for this planet and build that while sabotaging the other things that are going on the same planet from the other company. There's a whole three-way conflict in place.
Yeah.
So,
well, and sometimes, you know, you got to work with those opposing companies because they've got the, you know, systems or the technology that you need. So there's a little bit of that kind of drama. I don't know. Have either of you played the game, the board game Terraforming Mars? Yeah, so in that one, Aliza, is the whole thing is that every player is a company that wants to terraform Mars. And there's even an expansion where you actually get like a company that has, you know, an identity, like this is what we do. And it can create quite a lot of drama at the table when it's like, well, I need these things and we need to accomplish these things to terraform this planet, but I don't want you to have these things. It can be pretty fun.
Yeah, the twist on that could be if you're you're a vendor almost, like your character also your character is the face of a specific specialist corporation or group that can provide one or two sorts of services to the overall tourist location thing. And so you as a player might make your character and then make this company, this corporation behind them who sponsors and backs them and gives them money. And the other players are doing the same thing. And it's not that you're competing with them because of we want to get there first. It's we want to get the most stakes in this. We want to have the most, you know, return for our company's thing. We've all got investment. Yeah. And so it's very capitalist, though, Aliza. I mean, we could also...
Yeah. Well, one thought about that is I kind of like the idea of it being more scrappy. Like, I don't really want it to be like a Waitani, you know, like big space corporation. Maybe okay, now I'm like walking into this idea as I say it out loud. Instead of it being like a big Waitani type corporation sent us here to do this, I would love it for it to just be kind of like when you go to when you go to Hawaii and it's just the like small business people who are running surf lessons in Waikiki, or like I went to Costa Rica a long time ago and the zipline company, just like them. They're locals. They're people who like know how to do this specific thing. They have the land. So I kind of like the idea of it being a little bit more scrappy. Or even just like think about, Sherpas. Like if you go to the Himalayas, the local people are the ones who provide those services just directly to you.
Are we looking at like there being, alien characters? Because like, you're the local of this planet. So, hey, you could be, or this galaxy even, these are the locals here.
There could be.
Might be different.
Yeah, there could be. I had not considered that before, but yeah.
More like a kind of a mom and pop small business gig kind of economy thing where it's the big corporations can't do what you do because they're not agile enough to set these up, right?
And the big corporations can then also be, they can be an opposition force now too.
Yeah. Yeah, big businesses are those enemy GMCs. Yeah.
That's cool. No, this is great, Aliza. This is cool. This is great. All right, so we've got those ideas down. So main themes in this is obviously tourist stuff, travel and getting that stuff. That's one theme. But also...
Yeah, like adventure tourism. I think that's the phrase, right?
Yeah,
adventure tourism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some competition and some collaboration that are cool themes, like who do you work with and who do you oppose, yeah?
Yep.
And also, I think it sounds like there's this danger element even beyond the adventure tourism, where you could throw all kinds of perilous situations at the group as a result of the fact that they're on exoplanets that have no atmosphere. It's very good.
Right.
Do you want this to be kind of a single planetary system? Do you want it to be? Is there like warp drives? How does that want to? How would that work for you?
In my brain, it's kind of somewhere in between The Expanse and Firefly,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe slightly closer to Firefly, where you literally can have a junk ship that can go like far enough distances believably, but it's just run by
Yeah.
some folks, just some people.
Yeah, I like that. Adventure Tours and
But
Firefly
in
is a great mashup.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and in terms of whether there's warp drive, then yeah, I think there would be some version of warp drive, but I just love the idea of that, like, just kind of gritty, scrappy, like, grease, get your elbow grease in to keep the ship from falling apart. I love that aesthetic, and I feel like it matches the adventure tourism side of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Let me throw out this one idea before we talk about characters. Then, the idea is that this might be with Firefly. The sort of the system is like multiple suns because they turned a couple of gas giants into miniature suns, right? So there's planets in different parts of it. There's a lot of stuff going on, different worlds. Some of them are good, some aren't. But the idea might be that this system, this sort of group of stars or whatever we're talking about, is currently hands off by major corporations in this galaxy setting because of whatever rules apply. The smaller people have to go there and do this sort of scouting and tourism and setting up and that kind of stuff. So in the background, looming over all of this is at some point the big companies may move in, and so the smaller,
Hmm.
scrappier people have to carve their way in first before they get steamrolled. So that might
Yeah.
be cool.
One reason that they haven't explored this area of space could literally just be that there are the glitzier resorts in some other part of space that have been established, like what's the Disney resort in Hawaii, or all my travel memories are coming back with this.
Well,
Nassau,
all the
Bahamas, like
beaches,
Atlantis, like that type of.
yeah,
Yeah,
Atlantis,
but
yeah,
like the very cheesy, glitzy ones,
yeah.
Yeah.
so maybe that exists somewhere else, and that's what the big corporations have invested in. But they're now the trend is changing, so actual travelers are kind of tired of that, and they want something more rustic, more rugged, and they're looking for these smaller companies. So that's why, just like with capitalism on this planet, once the niche or the trend starts to become more popular, the big
Yeah.
corporations then migrate over to it.
So
Absolutely.
basically, the customers want something less safe, right? Because they're tired of
Yes,
this,
yeah.
the
They
safe
want something that feels like
commercialized
a
versions of.
genuine, real experience.
Hmm.
Oh my god! And I also love the fact that those people, that the actual tourists, are all going to be hapless GMCs who get into all kinds of trouble, and it's going to be the player's
Oh my
job to.
God. Yes. Some very fun tourist characters that will pop up here.
I love it.
Okay,
Should we
cool.
talk about
So yeah,
characters then, Cam?
yeah, Mellie. We've played a bunch of games on Roll and Keep already. We've gone from Hammerhead to Tales of Xadia, Ireland Alpha, and even Stranger Towns. So, common thread of all of those is the characters have been very interesting, very foremost in the setting, and that's I think sounds like it's going to be true here too for Aliza's character. It's very Cortex, right? Cortex is all about characters. So, Aliza, when we're talking about making characters, do you want this to be something where it's relatively simple, or do you want the players to be able to grow their characters interestingly and build them over time in a way that's different? Like maybe the comparison could be Hammerheads is very much like I picked this, and this, and this, whereas Tales of Xadia, I think we saw that the characters, even though they were pre-made, there was room for them to do a lot of stuff over time. So what's your preference?
I mean, ideally, it would be something that's kind of quick start, like a quick character build, but with space to grow, which kind of is both of the things you just said. Um, yeah. Because I do like the idea that, they can gain more skills over time. Maybe they do get a zip line certification, and or maybe it's not even that formalized. They put in a zip line and it does well. And maybe after their fifth one, they become like, they get street cred, space cred. Like, oh, you need to hire that person to put in your zip line on that exoplanet. Maybe there's some type of reputation thing that can build.
Petition
Yeah.
to reflavor plot points as space cred for this game.
I'm writing that down.
I have this idea that one of the trait sets could be certificates, right? These are all the things you're certified in. They're kind of like skills. If you've got them, you can apply them in your dice pool, and then so you could be certified in something as mundane as I don't know, culinary or catering. But
ventilation, for some reason, that keeps coming up.
Ventilation, yeah. So that's the thing too, is that
systems.
Making a big list of all the fun, scrappy certification you would have to get if you were going to be one of these people, and then we could tell players, just like in Hammerheads with the training packages, you'd be trying to find out which one of those was your special thing to do.
And there's also an option too to have, you can have the list of skills, which are certificates, and there can be specialties. You can have the, certificates be general, and then they can branch off into specialties. In Tales of Xadia, specialties are just on their own, but that's actually a mod to specialties. Specialties are usually actually coming off of skills. So then you could say, yeah, I've got a culinary specialty, and it could branch off, and I could actually have a more specific specialty underneath that certificate.
Yeah. So would that be if it were catering or a culinary specialty? Would it be like, oh, I make cronuts? That would be the subset of that.
Yeah, and that would be the kind of free form. The specialties will be free form, but I think you would want to make the list of certifications that people could actually could get. And during the game, one of the things you do as you're like, instead of leveling up, you basically say, in my downtime, I'm working towards my expert level in this certificate for catering. So it'd be like, I start off with a D6 in it because I'm, I got my training, but now I want to go into expert, and so I'm spending my downtime training that in between adventures or between missions.
Mm-hmm. So that would be upgrading the die.
Oh, go ahead.
What's that?
Would that be upgrading the die? Did you say like going from a D6 in culinary to D8, and then
to a D8, right?
Keep going.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, and then if you meet a GMC with a D12 in catering, like, oh wow, that person.
Yeah,
that's the, the Guy Fieri of well, maybe not Guy Fieri. Maybe he's
giving Guy Fieri
Flavor
a D12 for catering. Wow.
Flavor Planet.
I would also like to just really quickly call out Artful Dodger 72 in chat, suggesting, being language fluency. So, a linguistics or translator, that could also be a certification that could be pretty sweet.
Yeah. That goes hand in hand. So I wrote down interior/exterior design, but also signage. That's important. What's
that's
people
marketing.
Who like design the flow of traffic, marketing. Yeah. But like people who design
branding.
Like literally Disneyland engineers,
infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Yeah. Like, oh, we need people to queue up on this side, and then this is the entrance to that, and that kind of design. I can't think of, there's an actual term for that. Urban design planning.
Urban planning or something?
Urban planning, but like for
space.
So
then,
Yeah.
It's a civil engineer is what.
Hey,
yes.
I dig this.
Translator.
Yeah, I think so. That's on your list of things that you would want to muse over, and I don't really think we want to spend our time going through the long list. So we could regroup for our next session to talk about that list. But what other traits do we want to have? And remember, the traits, you have to have your prime sets. Prime trait sets are the ones that will always be in your dice pool when you do something. So if certificates or certification is going to be our kind of our skill equivalent, and you can always put a certificate in there, then there'll be distinctions, which everyone's going to have. Pick 3 of those, and we can talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I also think we want a third thing, whether it's a sort of a base attribute, or if you want to have relationships or values, something more ephemeral. I like the idea that we're talking mostly about stuff that's planning or social in other kinds of ways, and maybe not necessarily like your usual stats, like no strength and agility and that kind of
Yeah, you also have stuff like, affiliations that might be helpful. So that could, those could represent different aspects of this greater, not corporate community, but business community, I guess. That could also tie into relationships. There's lots of options. Like, what do you think is, if we're adding skills and we're adding our distinction, what's the other thing that should be in every single role all the time?
Well, so just to go over, so the skills would be like the certifications, and the distinctions would be the subspecialties, like culinary to
distinctions are things like they're those 3 things that are the central part of your character. Like, I'm a so and so and so and so and so and so, and like with Stranger Towns, for example, we came up with 3 things. One of mine was the well-groomed heir, and then there was the other one, touched by an angel or whatever. And I think they're the 3 things that they're your elevator pitch for your character. So you might have something in this game like tongue-tied engineer would be one potential, or
gotcha.
You could even have a distinction which is just like, I'm on the way to Flavortown, which would be fantastic. And then you could always use that.
You distinguish those elevator pitches. So if we're looking at, if you're dealing with something, if you're saying, hey, this is worthy of a role, so hey, we got to have a certification, and whatever we're doing, we're going to add a distinction because that's who we are. What's the other aspect of dealing with things in your game?
Okay, this is another top of my head moment. And I'm not sure it's a good idea, but I'll just say it out loud and we can talk through it. I think it would be interesting to have things like grit as stats. I've never seen that in a game. And grit is actually, there's a whole TED talk about how important grit is, and it's like the most important thing you can learn in school as a kid is just to like persevere. So I think it would be cool, instead of, like you said, doing the normal like strength, constitution, intelligence, all that stuff, maybe it's those other types of stats that are important to people but are never represented. So grit would be one. I don't know what else is in that bucket though. Yeah.
You could do a thing that I really like, which is making things alliterative, Aliza, and have it be grit and gab and gumption.
Gab. I love that.
Guile.
Oh, wait, hold on. I like that. Oh my God, yes, these are great. Grit, gab, gumption, guile.
What's a G word for ingenuity, Cam?
Yeah, genius.
Ah, I love it.
Grit, genius. Wait, I'm gonna look up.
We need like synonym. This is very much when I'm building a Cortex Prime setting for my own table. I head on over to thesaurus.com and I just look up words.
Just a small plug there to thesaurus.com. You can go to thesaurus.com for all your thesaurus and synonym needs.
Sponsored by thesaurus.com.
Like and subscribe.
Well, gumption is on this list, funny enough. For ingenuity, however you say it. Genius and gumption are both under this. So maybe they mean the same thing. So maybe we don't
gumption
need to
sounds
replace
like
ingenuity.
I think gumption sounds like the kind of like... Yeah,
it's like your resourcefulness and your initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like your genius is like, I got a good idea. So I think you could have both. I think they can mean different things. It's like, the difference between like intelligence and wisdom in D&D. Like they're
Yeah,
Yeah,
They're both the
yeah,
mind,
yeah,
but they're
is
different aspects of the mind.
Gab is
Mhm,
definitely kind of your charisma stand-in. It's your how do you can talk up
mhm.
things and get around stuff by chatting with people, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, but grit
Hmm.
is also great. I think these are all
Love
great
it.
things because you can imagine different situations where one or the others you have to choose. Am I
Oh,
am I doing
Aaron
this out of
Moore
yeah? Hmm.
has a suggestion in chat, which I also like, guts, because this is very
Yeah,
Guts,
dangerous work.
yes, yep. So bravery. Yeah, exactly. I love that.
yeah. Guts, Gab, grit, and gumption,
Ingenious.
Grit and gumption.
and genius.
Genius. Guile. Do we want to keep Guile? How many
I
of
like
these
guile.
should we do?
You don't want to have too many. I think you want to have enough that it covers almost all the situations that you want, but without so much overlap that people get stuck thinking about which one to go
Uh,
for. So,
if we
like,
do use
Mhm.
guile, that kind of gives you, that option of somebody being a really subterfuge kind of character who wants to,
Yeah.
do some sabotage. Like that's
Mhm.
your sabotage stat.
Yeah.
hmm
I like that. I like having that as a
yeah,
stat.
yeah. I think it's. I'm a fan of guile. It's an idle
I
enough
am
Okay.
too.
reference.
I love it. I think six
So
is a
grit
really
is
nice
just
number of
like
attributes.
perseverance. Yeah. Grit is perseverance. Gab is like charisma slash just the gift of gab, talking to people. Gumption is wait, what's gumption again? Oh, it's like
It's really like
wait, yeah,
It's
what's
your
gumption?
resourcefulness, spirit.
Resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and kind of
Force,
your drive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, your
drive.
motivation.
And then guile is
Artful Dodger
trickery.
72. Is this now called G-Force?
G-force.
I dig it.
Arts,
I think
ingenuity.
it's a really great set of six.
And then guts is bravery. I love
Yeah,
it.
but guts could also. I think guts and grit. The difference between the two of them needs to be sort of figured out. I think grit
For
is your
me,
perseverance.
it's yeah, exactly. So are you willing, it's kind of like constitution, but a little bit more on the mental and emotional side of it.
Yeah.
Like, can you stick it
Yeah,
out long enough to get this thing done?
right.
Yeah. And then your guts is like, am I willing to bungee jump down to the volcano to catch this falling tourist?
Hmm.
You know, the thing
Yeah.
is too, because there's no physical stat in there really. You could say
Hmm.
that, the degree to which you use your physical attributes is entirely dependent on which of those G words you go with. So are you doing guts and so you're sort of like stoking up and clenching up to do a thing? Or are you going with guile and being sneaky and sort of like this? So you almost imply some of those physical things just with those
Yeah.
a little
Gab is
more
very
mental
showy,
or
performative.
Yeah. I also really like not having a specific physical attribute. I think it
yeah.
just, we have so many games, like most games have a physical attribute. Why not have one that doesn't? Maybe
Yeah.
that doesn't matter here.
Just shift the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're not talking about,
I love it.
tough guys in space. We're talking about,
Hmm.
scrappy, entrepreneurial,
Entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
tourist adventurer.
Yep.
All right, that's cool. So those are, in Cortex terms, those are attributes, but I think you could call them whatever you like. But I think attributes and certificates or whatever are both really cool. And with the distinctions, I said I was going to loop back to this. With Hammerheads, the way we made it easy was, and this is also true for Tales of Xadia, we said that each distinction is a specific kind of flavor. So there was the what you were before distinction for Hammerheads. Like, for example, your character was
Mm.
a professional dancer and celebrity in that world. But then there's the your approach and attitude, and then there's the weird thing about you, the quirky kind of personality thing. So you can do the same thing here, which lets you cover those bases quite well with people making characters, because then you tell them, I want you to think about these 3 things when you make your character. And these are separate from things like your stats and your skills. This is like, who are you, and how would you summarize who you are with three phrases or 3 words?
Okay, yeah. And so just thinking about what's not covered by the attributes we have and like the whole set of training and that's represented by certifications. What's
I would also throw out
not covered there?
if you want to go in the direction of having alien races as a part of this or alien lineages as a part of this, that would be good as like a distinction, is like, what planet are you from? Because then that gives them, hey, because I'm from this very like I keep going back to volcanoes. I guess I'm all about volcanoes today. I am from the volcano planet, so I, have a distinction that's going to make it. Anytime I'm dealing with like these heat-based things, I'm gonna throw that in my pile because this is nothing to me.
Yeah, like, so there's the 3 things: where are you from, what do you do, and what's different about you, are the things I went for with Tales of Xadia. So I think maybe the first one, thinking about, what is your origin homeworld? What is your background? And that way, even if you don't do aliens, you can still say, well, I'm from the belt, or I'm from a heavy gravity planet or something. And you summarize that in a little sort of capsule thing, which anytime that comes into play, you can use that. Also, you can use it as a hinder if it's a problem for you having been from there. So, like on The Expanse, I love that people from the belt are very fiercely independent and sort of opposing the inner planets. But that causes them trouble a lot of the time too when they're trying to deal with people from Earth and Mars, right? Like, I'm a belter, so I can't properly talk to you because you don't like me. That's a D4 hinder. And that may be the case in this case. Like, if you want to have people be from specific worlds or maybe different kinds of cultural sort of backgrounds, maybe that's a cool thing to have as one of your distinction options.
Yeah. So thinking about having aliens, I think I don't want to do that because I like the idea of it just being about humanity. But that doesn't mean that alien life doesn't exist in this world. And I could definitely see things happening where like the GM might throw in, oh, you get to this planet and there's actually all this blue fungus here and it starts moving towards you. Like there can be alien life for sure, but maybe it's like flora and fauna.
Yeah.
And so
it's
we're
on
not,
the GM side, not on the player
yeah.
side.
Yeah. I think
That's
I
cool.
don't want to get into the like races, there being races
it.
and species thing for players because it's just like, I don't know. Hey, I play all the D&D and all the games that have species, but I do feel like those are rooted in like these people are this way and these people are this way and these people, and it's like,
yep,
I don't want to do that.
I love it.
Yeah.
But I like it being
also,
like the people from the belt are this way. Like that to me kind of works because then it's based on your experience.
Yeah, and I think then you get to choose how you manifest that particular cultural expression in whatever way you want, and no one's kind of cut it out for you and said, well, all of this people, these aliens are very good at crafting.
Right.
You're like, well, that's cool. I don't want to be a crafting.
Right. Mm-hmm. Humans are good at thing. Well, we're all humans, so what else is unique about you?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, maybe where they're from. I feel like where they're from for sure should be a distinction. What they do.
That seems to be a
like
little
how
more
can we
like
make that more?
Yeah.
More like what?
Maybe less of what you do, but what's your spark? What's the thing? What got you
what
into
inspires
this?
you?
Why are you doing this?
Yeah. What inspired? Yeah, I like that. I like that angle. What's your spark? I like that.
Mm-hmm.
spark? Because then that can also be a little backstory, like, oh, my parents were adventurers, or oh, I grew up in a cult on in the asteroid belt, and I needed to get away, and I'm hiding from them, or like whatever. What's your spark?
Oh,
Yeah, why? Or it could just be like,
You
I
just found
love
my last character.
nebulas.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Rusty. Cults are very
Yes, it's
interesting.
cool. And so,
Anyway,
what would the third one be? Something about you that is quirk is often a good one for a third one, because then you put it's the junk
Miscellaneous.
drawer distinction.
yeah,
It's where you
you
put
know,
whatever
this is.
else.
I mean, this is maybe turning this into a little too touchy feely, but my thought is like, who's your best friend? Like, or something a little squishy here, like, um,
Um,
who do you love the
so where are you
most? I don't
from?
know.
Where are you from? What's your
Mm-hmm.
spark? Where do you want to go?
Where do you want to
Where do you keep
go?
your
Maybe what?
heart?
Yeah,
Where
where
do
do you
you
keep? Yeah,
keep
that's
your
cool.
heart?
Because that
Yeah,
doesn't
I
have to be a
like
person, it can be lots of
that.
different things.
Yeah,
that's cool. I love
I
it.
love that. Yeah.
And that could just be like, I want lots of money. You're like, okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yep. What's your spark and where do you keep your heart? So what's your spark is more like what, maybe we can make that more specifically about the backstory, like
What got you
what
into it?
got
Is what I
you out
think
here,
will.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Should we rephrase that to
Because you.
reflect that more? Because I feel like
Like,
what's your
Well,
spark
so
could
so
be
where are you
more
from?
general.
Where are you from is the
Mhm.
past. What's your spark is what got you into the
Right.
present. And then
or so I
Okay.
guess you could say
where
instead of what is your spark, it could be what was your spark? Because then you're saying what was the thing that turned you from distinction 1 to where we are now. Just changing it to a past
Mm-hmm.
tense.
something
Yeah.
lit the match.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. Okay, that works. Where are you from? It's just data, like literally where
Hmm.
you are from. What was your spark? Why did you leave? Basically. And where do you keep your heart?
Yeah.
What motivates you? What do you love? What do you treasure the most?
Yeah. That's cool.
I dig it.
Yeah.
All
With
right.
your D10 and
Cam, what's the
gumption.
next step? We got 3 trait sets now. We got 3 prime sets. What else
Yeah.
do we need, Cam?
So the next thing, you can be done with the character right there, but I think one thing we often want to look at is going a little bit deeper. There's a number of other ways we can explore what the character journal, character file is all about. So that's the sort of the basic stuff. There's 3 things, but some of our games have optional stuff like assets, which I think are really good. Signature assets, the things that are yours, that you own, that help you out in some occasions, but don't always come into play. So I've got a spaceship, or I know the keys to the safe on several hundred worlds, or something. Um,
Hmm.
those sorts of things are assets, and you can use them sometimes, but they don't always get added to your dice pool. But they're yours, and you have them, and it can be information, it can be items. It's your favorite horse that you take with you in every world for some reason. I don't know why. But that's the signature assets. That's a good one to have, I think. The other
Your
one is
upgraded
things like
Roomba that you
yeah,
reprogrammed to do other things.
the Roomba the
Oh,
size of a
wait, what'd you
car.
say, Melanie?
Um,
Oh, Roomba?
An upgraded Roomba.
yeah. So hey, are there robots and droids and things in this? What's the deal on AI? What is
Hmm. I definitely think there's plenty of mechanical droids and things like that that they use. I think probably AI for their ships, and they can definitely build systems. I would imagine if you're building like a tourism center on an exoplanet, you would want AI to tell you if you have leaks and things like that. So, um,
but
but
your ship's version of Siri, basically, right? It's not like um
Maybe even a
true
little bit
artificial
smarter than
intelligence.
Siri, though. Maybe a little bit. Maybe, yeah, maybe true AI.
Or intuitive AI,
Yeah,
right? That's like
intuitive.
it's a learning box.
Right. MI, machine learning, or ML.
Mm-hmm.
Cortexa.
Yeah.
Um,
Cortexa.
Cortexa!
Oh my
Mellie, you're
god.
so good at naming things. Cortexa.
I just had this random thought too that so if you were a part of a big corporation, they would have their hugely important, useful, multi-featured AI machine learning boxes in their ships and in their vehicles and wearable on your all that stuff. But you are a scrappy young kind of like seat of your pants kind of person, so you get to have
We're old.
the
Yeah.
knockoff. Bought this off the street. This is the kind of thing we deal with. It's got 5 things that weren't upgraded. There's always a spending thing on it. I like this idea because then you
There's
can throw in
also
the GM can throw in it.
Mhm.
there's also an angle of it being kind of like software that kind of got messed up along the way, which is why it was so easy to get or so cheap to get. I'm thinking about like in the recent adaptation of the Tick, there was Death Boat, which was, it's a plane and a boat, but it doesn't fly anymore because it had a traumatic experience that broke its brain, its AI
Oh.
brain, and so now it's afraid of flying, and it like has an actual like personality because it just really broke its programming. So you can also, explore if you wanted to. Maybe you want your ship to have its own personality that could be a GMC on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love
I
this
think
idea
that
that
would be cool.
one of your certifications clearly must be something to do with programming or app app what's app development. You're like, oh yeah, I know all about app development. Everyone's like, it's the wild west out here with like it's like freaking Android. Half the things have viruses.
Love it.
Yeah,
Because
programmer
yeah,
slash
I mean,
developer.
people really do need to have that kind of stuff. If they're visiting your tourist location, someone's going to have to program all of those, helpful things that guide you around on your device and whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like the back end stuff is very hard to do, right? So this is not a big company with thousands of people programming things with super cool AIs. This is like, you know,
I just had a really funny thought. Kind of dark though. What if, yeah, like in this world, these mom and pop adventure space touristy people, not tourists, but the entrepreneur ones, they go and they set up these like tourist traps on exoplanets, but they're all run by AI so that they can leave and then go do another one. But the thing is, like,
oh
it's a little
yeah,
bit of a death trap because, like, if you
yeah,
go there and the AI malfunctions and you're just a random tourist on an exoplanet, like, no one's there to fix it.
Yeah, that feels
it's like
very
a
I don't
whole
much
know.
bunch
like,
of
that's either like that's like either, hey, we're players and we're playing kind of like, these shifty pirates of the space that we are kind of doing this little bit of a con, or it could be like these are, that's an enemy group of GMCs that's not a big corporation. It's like just one of those smaller ones that's doing that, and you like your group
oh
coming to that
yeah,
place like there's already something established here. Oh god, it's awful.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
broken.
right,
It's
right.
uh,
dangerous.
I love that
yeah.
idea
Okay,
that
yeah.
yeah, and also, I mean, if even if you do set up something cool, you build it, and that's part of the campaign is building and growing your own little installations of things. You have to keep track of it and go back to it every once in a while and up and maintain it
Mhm,
because the AI is sketch
mhm.
as all get out, and so you'll
If you
find not
don't
only your own ones are
Yeah.
gone.
Mhm. That's a great, and those are great plot hooks right there for the GM. Be like, you
Mm-hmm.
just got word that your zip line setup on, Titan is malfunctioning. You have to go in person to fix it, like that, and then you
Yeah,
find the other. So, oh my god, yeah, okay, I like this. I like this
yeah.
idea.
It's ziplining them into the what do you call that? Scary methane boiling pits, and it's like,
Yeah.
hey,
I'm
that
just
thing, like,
having roller
boiling,
coaster
the one that's
tycoon
boiling.
flashbacks. Where like, oh, I forgot to put a path out of the exit of this ride, so people are just like walking out and falling into the water. Like, oh no,
Yes.
why are people dying? I don't understand. Oh, it was me. I did that.
Oh, I love it. I also think, you know what this makes me think of? It's like, it's a cross between Roller Coaster Tycoon and like every potential bad Jurassic World spin-off you've ever heard of.
Yes. Yes.
Way less budget, like not a lot of budget. Not You've got your grits, your gumption, your genius, your guile, all those things, and you've got limited resources, and you got to make these things and spin them up and have them work, and then go off. Yeah,
Oh, I want to play
that's
this
awesome.
so bad already. I'm in love with this, Aliza. Cam, what else do we need
Oh, that's
to? What else do we need to work on building here?
Oh,
all right.
wait,
So, like
sorry.
I said,
Before we move on
Right,
from that,
okay.
just really
Yeah.
quick addendum to the idea of, I think it could be a choice, right? Like you can say, hey, players, you have the choice of either setting this up as an AI led and run facility that you have to come back every once in a while and maintain, or maybe you do bring someone along who will be your employee there, or a 2 or 3
Yeah.
people, and you set them up, and maybe that also gives you different advantages if you decide to go one way or the other. Like it's more expensive because then you have to feed those people and make sure they don't die. But you then have people on site who could troubleshoot the smaller things, so you don't have to come all the way back over here. Whereas the AI, you don't
Yeah.
have to feed humans, but the smallest thing breaks and you have to come back.
They're like, the AI,
Oh,
you
I
don't
love
have to feed humans. Don't feed the AI humans. It doesn't need to eat them. But
The AI is like, well, I didn't think I had to feed these people and give them any kind of atmosphere. What's wrong? Why are all the humans dying?
I don't need to eat.
I just, I
Oh my
love it.
God.
You know,
There's another plot hook.
you know how
The
in
AI just
Hammerheads,
is killing people, starving them.
And not,
Elisa,
not
you know
out of
in
any like
Hammerheads where,
nefarious reasons. It just doesn't understand how humans work.
It just doesn't know. Yeah.
so you assign your resource pools in Hammerheads, right? You've got this many dice, and you have to put them into different places. I like the idea
Right.
that when you're setting up a place, you've got, and you can come up with the categories too, Lisa. These are the different important things about each tourist trap. Does it have ample food and water? Does it have sort of entertainment? Does it have this? Tell the players they've got, however many dice, maybe even 4. It's not maybe not enough. And then they get to put them into those different areas. And that way, they can leave them there as they are, and over time they might degrade, and you've got to come back and put more dice into them, which is the whole point of the actual
or
role-playing side of it.
being able to, hey, we've allocated these resources here, and then the GM says, okay, we're gonna, it's been a month since you've left this place, so I'm gonna roll, and somebody's got to roll resources against this thing to see how it's been maintained. Could also be a thing.
Right. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Because it's awesome.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if there's one of the things for setup is, okay, players, I want you to roll your resources for Titan. You've got your little place in Titan. We've got your 5 different areas in that thing. I'm going to roll my difficulty, which is like 2d8 or something, and you roll that. And then they have to roll each one of them and beat it. And any one of them that fail is a problem, which they have to go and take care of. And that's the setup for everything. And then, work out from there what else goes wrong.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was thinking security could be one of them, because then it's like, do you put a lot into security? Because that could mean later in your campaign or whenever, if you have a low security exoplanet tourist trap, someone's gonna come and mess with it, and that could be a liability later.
Yeah. Like
you show up there and like,
security.
you guys aren't. I didn't put you people in charge here. Who are you? You're like, oh, we're the new staff.
They're just
We're new
pirates.
hires.
They're just pirates. Like they come in and steal your tourist trap.
Need to have some like food and water resource and infrastructure, maybe.
What makes
I
me
like
laugh
that.
is that there's this idea that when you create in science fiction, you're kind of talking about real world issues cast into a future thing. And so what we're talking about here is this whole tug between scarcity and inspiration and entrepreneurship. There is a hole that gets filled by someone with ulterior motives like pirates, right? So rather than going up to a ship and stealing everything on board the ship, you've got people who just claim jump all your tourist areas to try and get that kind of income
Yes.
because they themselves haven't got the backing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're
So,
undercutting.
uh-huh.
Yeah, or either it's the ones that you've made they take over, or they set up competition right next door. Yeah, like it's like, oh, these guys,
Mm-hmm.
our tourist trap's much cooler than their one because we're cheaper.
Yeah. I just wrote down a list of like potential threats, which would be
Mm-hmm.
claim jumpers, rival tourist agencies, big corporations, rogue AI, the elements, time, even just like how long will this zip line last before you have to replace it?
I love it.
Um, yeah. What else? What else? Rogue AI, the elements. Yeah.
Oh, the, something about the world, some kind of alien slash unknown, right? Isn't always a fun one.
Yeah. Literally the
Yeah, the
unknown.
unknown.
The unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
characters,
well, yeah, the elements.
uh,
I was going to say
we've
local
talked a bit
flora
before
and
about,
fauna.
yeah.
Local
Uh,
local alien flora and fauna.
I think you want to
Right.
give players the option to put down like a couple of assets for themselves to just really round their character out. So whether it's one D8 asset or two D6 assets that they can pick, they just seem like part of their kind of like their identity. Like, this is my character. They have very important exoskeleton because they have to walk around in that. So I'm going to use that as a cool asset for myself, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing too was that we talked a bit about how much you would grow, and I think what's more fun in this kind of setting is not necessarily growing additional special effects or other kinds of abilities. It's leveling up your certifications, yeah, but it's also building these places. It's about making these little locations
Mm-hmm.
and investing in those. And so you're almost like using your XP to invest in making your little private operations spin around a bit better. And that way you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly having to sort of like focus on different ones. Oh, we'll put XP over here, we'll put XP over here, and then you as the GM keep
Yeah,
imposing them.
like that. And it could also
Dig
be,
that.
I mean, they make XP income from, or some other income, space cred. Oh, maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's space cred there. The
Yeah.
plot point
Hey,
slash space cred becomes the income that they get from their tourist traps. I love calling them tourist traps.
Yeah, so
We know what
I
we
like that idea.
mean. Like,
So
okay.
instead of XP, you earn space cred, which you spend to do more stuff.
Yeah, but I
You
like the
can
idea
either
of
put
literally the GM can still give the XP and the players can use it to maintain their tourist traps. Like
mhm.
I don't know, I like
right.
the idea of that there being two different what's it called, currencies in the game, in and out of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess a
I think
question, since we're talking about growth right now, is
mhm.
kind of what angle that growth takes, because there's a few different types in the Prime Game Handbook, right, Cam? So like, how do they generate the XP?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. Yeah.
number of ways. One way is to establish milestones, which the players will set up like goals, things that they think they want to do, and if they achieve those goals, they get XP for them. And then the GM can say, okay, here's a list of potential milestones. Which ones do you want to pursue? But there are also things like, okay, I get XP each adventure, each mission completed. That's an easy one. it's really, this is kind of comes down to being a GM side of the story. Like, if you don't want to mess around too much with tracking this, then you just say, okay, everyone gets another 2 XP or whatever for that. But I also like the idea that it ties somewhat into their choices in the game. So if they've decided they want to do things a certain way for their character, then maybe they should be rewarded for chasing that up, as opposed to just always getting the same amount of whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it can be kind of flexible. Maybe there can be just a few to several established milestones, but then it can also be up to the GM and the player to discuss, like, oh, my character made this big uh, personal discovery and overcame XYZ, and then that also counts as something to earn, as a milestone, basically.
Yeah.
But then specific milestones could be like you establish oh my god, the parallel is a franchise. Like, you know, like you've set up enough of these tourist traps that you now are known as, and then you can name your franchise like Aliza's Adventures or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe it's like you set up your first 5 or something, and then 10, and you just keep growing.
Yeah,
That's
so
franchise.
milestones on page 84, if anybody's following along in their books. I haven't used milestones personally, but I really like them, and I just never have found the right place to use them. But I like how it's set up where it's like, hey, there's a 1 XP milestone, which can be really general, and it can be hit lots of times.
Yeah.
And there's 3 XP that's like max of once per scene, so those could be, you know, a bit more dramatic, and then a 10 XP one, which is like a really big thing. So you can kind of just like set things up where you say like, and you know, maybe they're for everybody, or maybe, hey, the 1 XP one is for everybody and the 10 XP one's for everybody, but a 3 XP one is a specific character one. Could be an interesting way to do it.
One way of looking at it is, if the milestone is franchise operation, or set up your franchise, 1 XP goes each time your character makes a choice to try and to do something to create more for your particular business or your tourist trap, whatever. You get an XP, bump, bump, bump. Happens during the game. 3 XP is when you do something challenging that somewhat subverts your idea, but you kind of take it on as almost like a little bit like how Hinder works, where you do something to your own drawback. Like, you make a choice that provides you as the GM with later fun things to do. That's the 3 XP one. And the 10 XP is when you achieve your overall goal, you close the milestone out and you start a new one up with different expectations and goals. So
it's like, hey, we're setting a goal and break it down into these 3 parts. And that can be a
very frequently
process.
1 XP. And the milestone really is a way to earn XP for doing things in the game. So doing the common thing gives you 1 XP each time you do it. So it shouldn't be terribly hard to do, but also shouldn't be like, every time I talk to a person, I get... No, this shouldn't be like that. It's more like, you know, whenever you make a new contact, get XP, right? Or whenever you establish a new vendor, get an XP. The 3 XP one, like I said, is often a thing which should be very dramatic. It should be like, oh, I'm gonna just... No, I'm done with that vendor. That vendor's bad. I salt the earth, you know, burn the bridges. I've decided not to go with them, and they're the worst. So you get 3 XP for that. If you do that too often, you have no vendors left, obviously. And the 10 XP one is, yeah, I've established my place. It's all done, and my reward is 10 XP. And then you can sync that stuff into...
So
what's nice with this too is that it
is the 10 XP like
you only get the 10 XP thing once. Well, it could be.
So how do you...
It's a one-time reward, but then that means the milestone goes away. So you no longer get any of the 1 or 3 XP options. You just have done that one. And then you choose a new milestone from a list that you've created, at least, or that the players have come up with, you know.
So could it be
a good example...
like...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Give the example.
Oh, yeah. So good example. Here's this, you know, session milestone here that's in the book. So it's like, rescue the Prince of Flowers. This is the quest that they're on. So this is their goals. They want to rescue him. So like 1 XP is, you ask somebody you just met about him. So that's going to be easy to hit, but you got to, meet new people and find out things. You get 3 XP when you would discover a clue to the prince's location, and then 10 XP is you've rescued him, or you decide to, it also has the other option of leaving him with the bandit queen. So you've decided the end of the quest. So then once they've done that, like, cool, I've got the XP from that. I no longer have the prince. That's done. The story's done. So I have established my franchise here in space. So what is my next goal now that I've established it? Like, how do I want to continue my story? Or am I as a character, am I good? Am I going to leave and, hey, this player is going to make a new character? Either way, finishing that goal is kind of finishing
And the
that
cool
goal.
thing is, too,
So maybe
you could string them, you could do multiple setups of places. I mean, you could have that milestone be for each planet that has its own operation you want to build. So after 5 sessions of playing, you may have done that same milestone 4 times and gotten this whole 10 XP reward for each time, which you then turn around and put back into something else you want to do. Yeah,
but
so I
it's
mean,
like
that's
per planet.
pretty basic.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it could be like your first 10 XP milestone goal is to build your first tourist trap. And then you can repeat that however many times you want. And then maybe you can be like, you know what, I think I want to establish a franchise, which would be my next milestone. And that literally would mean find people who want to be your franchisees. Right? Like that could
Yeah, you've got
be
a whole
one of the
different set
many
of
goals on the way.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's really cool.
And then it could also be like, okay, I've made my franchise. I now have 10 tourist traps here, 10 there. I'm spending so much money on resources. I want to like establish a connection with a mining facility on this exoplanet so I can get a direct connect. Maybe it could literally just be those types of milestones.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about those is that players get a little bit of XP as they do things in play. 1 XP, 1 XP, 1 XP, just for doing certain things. Then they get the 3 XP one, which means you're motivating the players to do something that's dramatic. Like you get 3 XP whenever you start a fight with a mining operator. Which is like, oh man,
Yeah.
I don't really want to do that, but I'm getting XP for it, so I'll do that. Hey, drama. And then 10 XP when you actually do it and achieve it, which shouldn't be easy. It should be something you actually have to play through a whole session or two to do. And then what that turns into is the XP or the cred, which you kind of can call it. You then turn that into either more certification step ups, go get training and more stuff. You can turn it into I'm going to invest some dice into my operation. That's going to cost so much cred. Or I'm going to get more assets or whatever. So that's what the XP gets spent on, building your own little empire, of whatever, and improving yourself, as opposed to, making yourself stronger and faster and have more.
What I'm realizing is that I love this, what we've built, but I want to make sure we don't lose that initial spark of the adventure tourism, because this is like we've gotten really into like the mechanics and nitty gritty of like running businesses. But I want to make sure there's like something here where people can roll for how awesome their zip line is, or and obviously make it and like making cool, using your, what's it called? Which one was it? Your ingenuity, your genius. Yeah, using your genius and your gumption to make a really great tourist trap or ride or experience.
I guess
so how do we do that?
Going to be my question, which might inform this, is, if you're looking at, here's a session of this game, is that going to kind of tell this whole story of this planet, and then next we're going to move to a different planet, or is a mini campaign, 5 episodes is on one planet? What do you think, Aliza? Like, what makes more sense to you?
I mean, I really could see it going either way. I really could. Yeah, I don't know. I think both could work. I think it really just depends on the group, like how detailed they want to be
Totally.
when they're building, when they're on a certain exoplanet. Like, how much research do you want to do? How much, R&D? Like, do you want to set up
Right.
3 rides and test them all and then see
Yeah.
which one you like the best? Like, I don't know. I feel like people could just spin out and spend
Yeah.
a lot of time.
Because you could see sort of like what's kind of the wave that we're on here. So like, they get to a planet. So what are kind of the establishing steps and what gets you to the end of it, and what's that story beat that happens at the end? Because I think that that's going to tie in what you want with this adventure part is like what's the adventure beats that we want to build into those stories.
Yep.
Beyond just, hey, we're
That's where you
gonna
get the
we're establishing these things, we're getting this franchise. So like that's after
and
that's we've established this one, we're gonna move on to somewhere else. But hey, we've put some resources over there to we can come back to it later. But the focus is on the planet that we're on right now. What do you want that
that's
kind
where
of
those threats
story
came up.
be? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean
Oh,
the
yeah,
threats we're
yeah.
talking about, Lisa, they show up in their well. There's different stages, right? There's the we're setting up, we're building, we're making it. What kind of problems are we going to face initially? And there's a threat.
Yep.
And then there's the we've done it, we've made it. Now we have to try and do something with it and attract people. There's the second threat, right? Because people show up and then there's like, oh, hey, we love this zipline place. There's like a 900 zip lines here. It's the best thing we've ever seen. Why do half of them go into the methane pits? And you're like, oh crap, that's not good. But also, I think if you want them to roll dice for things like testing out their fun stuff, right? Which I think is kind of the idea. You want them to do dice rolls. You have to also allow for the chance of failure for some of these things. Like, can they try setting up a thing on a world and it goes completely off the rails and nothing works? What's the outcome if they don't? It should be fun also, right? Because if it's not fun, then you've kind of made everyone upset.
It's like work.
My ziplines don't work. The game is bad. So yeah, you need to build in that there's a fail state, which is meant to be interesting too. I think that's also important.
Okay, yeah.
I have a little bit of a suggestion that maybe like so some of the Cortex game that's seen done during the confab had some really cool approaches to sort of like GM tips, like here's what a typical session would look like, kind of start here. And Trace 2.0 in the book has this as well. This is kind of the beats of the session. So if we look at the beats of a planet, we could pare that down to, step 1 is discover. So we're figuring out what this planet is, we're finding out the stuff about it. Step 2, let's alliterate again. Design. What do we want to do with this plan? What do we want to make it into? Step 3, develop. This is the actual active, we're setting it up. We're doing the marketing, we're doing all that stuff. 4 is, the one where you actually get to have all your stuff happen. Yeah, it's the open, but I need a D word.
Defend.
I know, yeah.
You have to defend it against
you're opening it.
bad.
That's the fifth. That's the next one.
That's after, yeah. Defend is
Oh,
the
I
next
see.
one.
Experience it. You gotta
Opening, like-
open it. You gotta have a success. Let's see. I'm looking up.
Yeah.
Display.
Okay.
Display.
That's not bad. No.
Debut.
Oh, debut.
It's
Perfect.
debut.
Yes.
It's debut. Yeah.
Debut.
It's debut. Debut, and then maybe in the next thing, because now you've done it, you've had the fun, so you've got the stuff. So now you're leaving it to the AI or to your employees because you've done the fun part there, right? So you leave, and that's your defend. Is what do you leave behind there? And now we're gonna go off. Now we're gonna discover
delegate
again. We're gonna design again. We're going through those motions again, but with a very new place and new problems there. So that might be one way to look at it.
I think that might be delegate
like,
actually.
Hey,
Because you're delegating it to a staff or
delegate.
delegating it to an AI.
Yes. I
Oh
love
my goodness.
Yeah.
Discover, design, develop, debut, delegate, and then go discover again.
Yeah.
And you could take a whole
And then
session,
defend
Aliza,
is
to do each of them.
in there. Defend would be like later. They might have to defend it later.
Yeah,
Right,
defend
right,
might
right.
be
What
like
was that?
it's a satellite. It's a satellite D that sometimes it comes into
Yes,
play.
exactly.
I was just going to say that the way this is structured, you could do a whole session on each of the Ds,
Yep.
or you could run through them pretty
Mm-hmm.
quickly and just do a couple rolls and have people play them out. If
Yep.
they want to have some fun, not take it too
Yeah.
long, because maybe you want to spend the first few sessions just making some basic ones, and then you can go, all right, let's go back to some of the ones we made earlier and see what's happened to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I like kind of how this could be flexible to like, hey, you could go through all these Ds. This is a session. Boom, we're going through it. But it could also be this is the campaign. Is we've done these
Mm-hmm.
steps and we get to the end and we've done it. We established this. It was great. And then we have the dot dot dot. If we want to come back to this setting, we now can start again. But we have this established place. I like that there's a quick version and then there's this elongated version.
You could mix them
Yeah.
up too. You could even jump right into like the third one. You could say, okay, now just make a quick number of rolls for discover. We don't care about that. I want to go to it. Like, today's story is about the development. That's the fun thing. I have some plans for with some threats and things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where does the problem come
This
up
is all mostly just
on these stages?
yeah. This is mostly just ways to try and make it somewhat easy for people to take the setting you've got and the ideas you've got, and even for yourself too, for prep, because I think that prep is one of my least favorite things about sessions. I do everything off the top of my head and improv it mostly, as you'll remember from Hammerheads being a complete set of off the rails adventures. But I think the thing that is most helpful about it is that you know then what the players have some expectation. This game's going to be
Mm-hmm.
about these things. And then that way they can go, okay, so I know at some point we have to do this work. So let's make characters that can do it as opposed to being useless and no good and whatever.
And I really do like the idea of having that be a flexibility. Like we offer these beats as a suggestion, but also as a roadmap that could go like this or like
Mm-hmm.
this, depending on the group and how they want to play it. I could see being part of a group that just spends a lot of time on Discover, like
Yeah.
people who always play the science officer in Star Trek, like those characters who want to just like find cool things and like make sure, oh, how far down on this asteroid or exoplanet can we drill and things like that. That could be
Yeah.
people might be super into that, or like you said, they could skip over the Discover, just do a couple rolls, and then spend a lot of time on debut, like if they want to ride the
Mm-hmm.
rides, like I just want to get to where we ride the rides. Let's ride the rides. Like, well, okay, let's build them real quick, and then we ride them.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. That's the kind of flexibility and choices that you want that makes Cortex a lot of fun, because then it doesn't feel like you're being railroaded into a kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Tons of room to role play. I think that's really good.
Cool.
It's fun.
Well, Mellie.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a really, really good base set up here. I feel like, hey, we were to come back next week and go back over some of this stuff, but then kind of go more into, some of the other mods and how scenes might work and how tests and contests might work in this game. But I think for today, I mean, Aliza, unless there's something else you really want to get into right now, we might come back to this next week. What do you feel?
Oh yeah, I have some more ideas about stuff to figure out, but we can do it next week.
I love it.
Take some notes.
This has been super fun. We got notes. I am in love with this, Aliza, and I want to play it immediately. This is so fun. Such a cool idea.
Yay.
Such a creative way to, like, I'm not a sci-fi person. Like, I don't mind it, but it's not my favorite thing. I'm in love with this. I'm like, this is the sci-fi that I want to do.
Yay!
So
Oh,
I'm
that's
really
awesome.
excited. This is so cool. So I hope that you all enjoyed. I see we're doing a final giveaway in chat, so you still have another chance to get this Cortex Prime game handbook for yourself, and then you too could build a really cool setting like Aliza has done here. We're going to be back next week to finish it up, and then we're probably going to play it here on stream at some point in the future, and it's going to be amazing. Aliza Pearl, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Aliza Pearl on Instagram and Twitter, and Appease Aliza here on Twitch. And also follow Ripley Improv, because I direct an improvised monster hunting show over there Friday nights. And it's wild
It's really
and weird, and I love it. You should definitely watch it.
Yeah, Cam Banks, designer of Cortex Prime. Thank you for your expertise today. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on the Twitter at BoyMonster and the Instagram at Rusty Sellsword. They're two entirely different names just to fool you. But
I feel like
you also should
those are your
definitely-
two personas.
My
Yeah.
personas, BoyMonster, Rusty Sell. Everyone has two wolves inside them, Aliza.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, they
Exactly.
that's where you can find me.
Excellent. And I'm Mellie Doucette, and you can find me on Twitter at MellieDM. And also, you can find me in the Cortex Discord. There's going to be a link in the chat for that. You can come and hang out with people. You can get some advice on building your own settings. You can get some, help if you're playing a game and you need some rules advice. Great place to do it, and to find people to play games with. Also do that there. So come and join us. Thank you all for joining us for today's show. We're really excited to do another Cortex Clinic with Aliza next week. So make sure you tune in for that. And have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, everybody. Thanks so much.